So what do you have for us?
Okay. Well, in our PowerPoint here, we talk about Hawaii as being the most dependent on oil for its energy. Over 90% of our fuel and energy comes from overseas, and Hawaii pays $7 billion a year for this oil energy. So can you imagine if we could keep that $7 billion in Hawaii, what that would mean to our families and the money that we could use for schools and other things that we need in infrastructure and more roads and more buildings to employ people. And so the oil costs, as you know, continue to rise, and it's really affected Hawaii. And let me go to the next one. And so where does the oil come from? Well, it doesn't come from Hawaii, and so my goal is to have most of our energy coming from Hawaii, so when those prices go up, we're not depending like from Saudi Arabia or from China, Malaysia, and you know some of these countries don't necessarily like us as much as we'd like them to, and so we really want to focus on having these arrows just staying in Hawaii.
Okay.
As many people know, this is how much this has affected every family. In terms of your electricity costs, in 2002, the average electric cost was about $130. So I remember, it didn't bother me so much back then when I saw my electric bill. But this year, in 2008, it was $280. And actually, this would be higher for Ewa Beach residents because we have our air conditioners on and our fans on, and so some reports I've been getting, it's $600 to $700 a month for those that have central air. And so this was the goals that we had for Hawaii. We signed an energy agreement with Hawaiian Electric just recently, and I'm sure people saw that on the news. And that's the U.S. Department of Energy signed a moratorium with us to pursue renewable energy will be 70% renewable by 2030. And that is a huge goal, but we know that we can achieve it. And instead of being the worst in the nation for using fossil fuels, we're going to switch to renewable energy and be one of the highest renewable energy states in the nation. And so, of course, we passed several other legislation that would reduce greenhouse gases, and as 20% of Hawaii's electric energy will be generated from renewable resources by 2020. And so we're excited about that. And just recently in 2008, we had initiatives that would reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, would allow some ag land that can't grow anything, by the way, to be used for renewable energy like solar. We established a more efficient process for state and county permits and for developing and constructing renewable energy. And of course, we're going to have a renewable energy facilitator. And so that brings us back and off to the PowerPoint and to really discuss, Tom, what we're going to be talking about this next session. And so we can go off the PowerPoint right now and go back to the regular screen. And we're really going to be pressing and pushing for some funding for more facilities for wave energy. Especially for wind energy and Lanai. We're partnering up with Castle and Cook, hopefully to pass some legislation that would enable them to more quickly build their wind farms there to almost power the entire island of Lanai. We're also going to be looking into providing legislation that would make it easier for people to sell their renewable energy back to Hawaiian Electric, because right now the power grid is as such as it's very complicated and doesn't enable easy resale of the energy. And so we're very excited about what's to come. I can't tell you everything because you know the governor is going to be announcing her package in about a month or so, and more will be revealed then.
I saw on the screen Act 208. It was House Bill 2505. Now I think that's the one that brought on under DBED an energy director. Is that Mr. Ted?
Yes.
Who's?
I believe that's Ted Peck.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great.
And so we're very excited. You know, I have to tell people, for years, the people of Hawaii and environmentalists have been saying, hey, we're the one state in the nation that can go almost all renewable energy. And for years it hasn't passed because the gas prices were so low. And now I'm so glad that everyone is committed. And I really want to thank the governor, because she was the first to be very bold to say, hey, Hawaiian Electric, you have too much of a monopoly. You're passing the prices too much of the cost of oil down to the consumer. You've got to change, because you're affecting our entire economy. So I really want to thank Governor Linda Lingo and Lieutenant Governor Duke Iona for being bold.
And if there's going to be any reorganization of government, it's to bring on a state energy director like the governor has initiated.
Yes.
I mean, you could spin that other ways, expansion of government. No, that's not true. We're talking about reorganization in such a way that we have key personnel with these talents to help facilitate further resolve. So, when it comes to energy, there's the announcement of these wave energy converters, wave technology, and I believe there was a press release that the governor had initiated and said, we're going to be initiating this, and it's going to be a good thing for the state of Hawaii. And it's just the opposite of NIMBY, not in my backyard. Everybody wants this technology in their backyard because it's there's no blight, there's no power lines or anything of that, or smokestacks. It's really clean, and you don't see it. So do you know where that's going to be situated?
Well, I know that we're going to have one on the Leeward Coast.
Great.
I'm very excited about that. And so we hopefully will also have in Kailua, natural gas company is going to be coming as well, and that's going to be 100% American energy, and so I'm really excited about them coming to Kailua. And so we're really going to be a buzzing area of Oahu that promotes renewable energy.
Well, it's good to have someone like yourself on board, akamai to this, so to speak, where when it's coming to the Leeward Coast, people are accepting this technology for the jobs and saying, oh, closed-minded, it's change and I'm not familiar. Wave what? Wave technology? What are you doing? Are you going to steal the waves? I mean, really, if you think about it, it's so fresh that's part of your job as a legislator, I believe, is to help that educational process to your constituency and even outside to the public at large about what are the benefits, what are the pros and cons to these things. So in your re-election process, do you have a plan to survey your district and ask them and poll them and see where they're going on issues? Do you do that?
Well, we did a poll in our last newsletter and got great response. Of course, the number one issue was the traffic relief, but a lot of people seem to be very educated about all the projects coming our way. They were concerned about, well, what happens when you get on H1? We're still all going to be on H1. But for Ewa Beach, what hurts us the most is not only dealing with H1, but also dealing with Fort River Road. And once the North-South Road and the other connector roads and the widening is done, we're really not going to have as much of a problem. But this is why we need to bring the jobs to this side, Tom, is to prevent that traffic jam on H1. And so the people are going to work at all different times. Because I tell you, when I'm leaving at just after 5 in the morning, we're all going to the same place, and that's town. And so we need to really break those times up. Crime was a big concern for a lot of the residents in Ewa Beach. And I am personally very concerned about the continuing news stories that I've been reading about these very soft punishments for people who kill people. And I'm very disturbed about that one teenager that killed 2 mothers that left a lot of children motherless, and he only got a year or 2. And so I really, this goes back to Karen's law again, dealing with juveniles. Are we being too soft on juveniles? Are we creating a society that allows juveniles to get away with murder? Do we need to be tougher on them? And I think we need to really revisit the juvenile law issues. I think there's lots of flaws, and many people who do defend juveniles will admit themselves that we're too soft on them. And so we need to figure out what to do with that. And also maybe revisit our other punishments for serious crimes like rape and murder. Perhaps those aren't harsh enough. And maybe there's lesser crimes that we're being too harsh on, and that's what's clogging up a lot of the prisons right now. We really need to do a whole reevaluation of that.